Hamas, and we talked about disarmament, and they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, and we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side, but if they don't disarm as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them. And we don't want that. We're not looking for that. But they have to disarm within a fairly short period of time.
President Trump speaking shortly after his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, pushing Hamas to disarm and begin phase 2 of the Gaza peace plan. That includes a complete disarmament and surrendering of weapons, handing over Gaza to independent technocrats, and establishing a board of peace to oversee post-war reconstruction. Now, this comes as Iran's president declared the country is at a full-scale war with the United States, Israel, and Europe as protests break out over a drop in the country's currency and the resignation of its central bank governor. President Trump responding to Iran's aggression yesterday. Watch this.
Speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites. We know exactly where they're going, what they're doing.
Joining me now to break it all down, Fox News' senior strategic analyst and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane. You heard President Trump there, General. He said that based on what he is reading, that means he's getting some kind of intelligence briefing that is telling him that the Iranians are back at it.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. Of course he's getting intelligence briefings. That occurs on a regular basis. The guiding principle here and the major lesson learned from October the 7th, which is driving both of these presidents and our governments, is simply this, that Israel can never again permit their proxies on their borders, and this is particularly Hamas and Hezbollah or Iran, to build capability for them to attack them, and attack them consequentially, which occurred on October the 7th. That is the guiding principle here. So that is why you see the dictum here dealing with Iran's recovery of ballistic missiles. That is the major weapon that they use to attack Israel. Drones don't matter. Their air power is negligible when it comes to the Israelis. The only weapon they have to attack them is obviously those ballistic missiles, and we're not going to permit them to recover. The Israelis will likely attack it, and if necessary, so will the United States. The other means they have is obviously a nuclear weapon. And as the president indicated, while their intent is to recover their nuclear program, they really haven't started to do it yet. But when they do, and we know where they're going to do it, they're likely going to intervene with an attack on that as well. And when it comes to Hamas, Hamas made the deal for the phase 1 was to release all the hostages, and they're still holding one hostage, a deceased hostage. And then phase 2, they would disarm and give up governance. And they have reneged on that promise. So what the president and the Israeli prime minister both agree on, unequivocally agree, that we'll give them an opportunity and a date certain to disarm. And if they don't, then we're going to force it. That is kind of where we are, and it's based on that major lesson learned. We cannot permit Hamas to get the capability to attack Israel. They can't do it now, even though they're still in power, even though they have 5,000 to 7,000 fighters. They don't have the capability to launch that attack. So there is some time here. But the reality is they're not going to let them get to that point where they can do it. Yeah. And the same thing with Hezbollah. Yeah.
Well, and the Israelis, again, that strike against Hezbollah over the past week, General. President Trump also met with Ukrainian's President Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago on Sunday. Now, Zelensky says the president would give Ukraine 15 years of security guarantees as part of a new peace plan, even though Zelensky reportedly wanted 50. Now, here's the two leaders on Sunday with where we are.
I think we're doing very well. We could be very close. There are one or two very thorny issues, very tough issues, but I think we're doing very well. We've made a lot of progress today, but really we've made it over the last month. This is not a one-day process deal.
And we also discussed the sequencing of the following actions, and we agree that security guarantees is the key milestone in achieving lasting peace, and our teams will continue working on all aspects.
You know, the Russian Foreign Ministry is claiming that Ukraine targeted Putin's residence in a drone attack. Kyiv denies this, of course, General. But your thoughts overall on where we are in this peace deal, because this depends on, again, Vladimir Putin coming to the table.
No, there's no doubt about it, Cheryl. You put your finger on what has been the problem all along, and that is Putin talking nice, promising things, but never fulfilling any of those promises, and never willing, at least in execution, to actually make a concession of any consequence. I think this meeting between Zelensky and President Trump is the best meeting they've had so far. And it really comes at a culmination of some really hard work for the last 5 to 6 weeks by the U.S. negotiating team led by Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and others participating in that, and as well as Umarov, who's Ukraine's equivalent to our national security advisor, and their team. They have made consequential progress here. And certainly the fact that Zelensky is willing to pull his troops out of that defensive belt, move back those troops, expect the Russians to move back as well, and put in place a demilitarized zone with some kind of security forces, that's a major concession on his part. It has to go to the vote for the people to do it. But it's a major step towards peace. And now we have security guarantees that are very robust and formidable. And that is good. And you put your finger on a long-term guarantee of 15 years, which would also get congressional approval, which lives beyond President Trump's presidency. And these are very solid moves in the right direction. And you're right. The ball is now in Mr. Putin's court. Is he going to come forward with some concessions to truly make a deal, as he says he is genuinely interested in? This latest incident of the attack on his residence, there is no evidence that we can find of any air defense systems being alerted, not a single social media comment about 91 drones attacking someplace in Russia. When that happens, as it has happened in the past, everything explodes on social media from that neighborhood or that vicinity. And certainly it's very obvious that air defense systems are reacting to it. We have none of that. I agree with Zelensky. This is likely a fabrication by Putin.